I'm only going to get one video uploaded today. Yesterday was a very long day in New Orleans. I'm tired. You can probably tell my voice is struggling. We'll get back to our regular schedule tomorrow, but I wanted to go ahead and get this story out of the way today. By the way, I don't know how many of you guys watched Bucks Saints yesterday, but that was some of the dirtiest football that I have seen at the NFL level. The Tampa defense was actively trying to hurt Saints players. They knocked Jameis Winston out for the season early in the second quarter, which may end up being a blessing in disguise for the Saints. I thought the offense looked a hell of a lot better with Trevor Siemian. That could be an anomaly, of course, but the Bucks were even trying to hurt him. I lost count on how many times Tampa was called for roughing the passer. When you have a defense playing that aggressively in the NFL where they're actively trying to hurt players, it usually means one thing. They know their offense is going to struggle. Every quarterback has one or two defenses in the NFL that they struggle against. And throughout his career, Tom Brady has struggled against the Saints. Now, we'll see how it goes with Trevor Siemian going forward, but I think that Sean Payton has more trust in him than he ever did in Jameis Winston. That was the most aggressive play calling that I've seen from Sean Payton all season. Now, it was maddening at times, especially the three straight passes at the goal line with under 2 minutes to go. I don't know if you guys heard it on TV, but fans in the Superdome were booing Sean Payton out of the building. Why in the hell would you give Tom Brady as much time as possible at the end of a game with a timeout? It didn't make any sense. Now, the defense ended up bailing Sean Payton out, but if the Saints lost that game yesterday, Sean Payton would have been to blame. Anyway, let's get to what happened over the weekend in Poland. There was an MMA event in Poland over the weekend. I refuse to call it a fight because, from everything that I've read, neither one of these participants are real MMA fighters. One of them is described as an arm wrestler and a fitness instructor. The other describes himself as 185 centimeters of pure sex. While that would be a great qualification if you were auditioning for a role in Night Nurses from Jersey, I don't think it qualifies Piotrek Muaboy for an MMA fight. But it didn't matter. Didn't matter. You never want to put an inexperienced MMA fighter in an octagon. They will get hurt. In this case, experience didn't matter. Fight skills didn't matter because Piotrek Muaboy was fighting a woman. I'm not talking about a trans woman, someone who was born a dude, traded in his Johnson for a hole, and became a woman. I'm talking about a 100% biological woman who is still a biological woman. This was advertised as an intergender match. It's ironic that it took place in Poland. Poland ranks as one of the worst countries in Europe when it comes to LGBT rights. When you think of being woke, Poland is not a country that comes to mind. But here they are, over the weekend, advertising and promoting and going through with an intergender MMA fight. I don't want to see an intergender match if it's a woman who's a professional MMA fighter going up against a man on the street, much less a woman who is an arm wrestler who has zero experience in mixed martial arts, going against some weak looking dude who looks like he walked straight out of the IT department and into the octagon. This was obviously a joke, it was a spectacle. I found a short clip of the fight online, and I'm going to play it for you now. If it doesn't appear in this video, you know YouTube removed it, but go ahead and roll the film. Number one, this was absolutely pathetic. In terms of just pure MMA, this was pathetic. I don't understand the interest in these exhibition MMA fights, fights where two people who have no business fighting and people pay to see them fight. Aaron Carter versus Lamar Odom. Those dumbass Paul brothers getting into boxing and MMA. I have no interest watching Logan Paul attempting to be funny on YouTube, much less watching him in a boxing match. This fight in Poland is exactly what the far left want. They are on this crusade to prove that women can do anything men can do, when it's just not true. Social justice warriors are trying to confuse gender roles. A woman doesn't need a man to help raise a child. A woman has every right to play football. A woman should be able to compete against men in MMA. Women athletes deserve to be paid the same as men. While you might think women have the right to play football, does anyone think it's a good idea? What was that girl from Vanderbilt last year? Sarah Fuller or something? They allowed her to kick. It created an 11 on 10 situation on kick returns. She couldn't tackle, or she just wouldn't tackle because she knew she was incapable. When she kicked extra points, players on the opposing team just stood there. They wouldn't even try to block the kick. Definition of real competition. It put players in an awkward position. Now, when it comes to this MMA fight in Poland, guess who's taking the brunt of the blame? Now, the people who organized the event, they're taking shit, of course, but guess who else is getting blamed? Men. Come on. You already know us men are to blame for everything that's wrong in the world. Many people online blamed men for paying to watch this fight. Some people were blaming Piotrek Muaboy for taking the fight and agreeing to fight a woman. But I don't blame him. I don't blame the dudes paying to see the fight, although I don't know why they would want to pay money to see something like this. I blame Ula Siekacz, the woman who agreed to take this fight. I don't advocate men beating on women, but if you're a woman and you voluntarily put yourself into an MMA fight against a man and you get your face rearranged, that is your fault. It's not the man's fault. It's your fault. Ula Siekacz was actually complaining that the referee put a stop to the fight. She actually believes that she had a chance to win this fight. Never mind the fact that the dude was beating the shit out of her. The referee had no other choice but to stop the fight. If that woman had come out with a concussion or something worse, then social justice warriors would be whining that the referee didn't stop the fight. He allowed her to get destroyed. It wasn't fair. There is this notion that we are all created equal, but it's a myth. The woke like to misconstrue those words. They take it to mean that we're all equal. It's simply not true. When the founders wrote that we're all created equal, it was from a human rights perspective. We have equal rights. It didn't mean that women can do the same things men can do. They're going to continue to allow women to fight men until it gets out of hand. Someone gets seriously hurt or even worse, dead. If and when that happens, this trend of women fighting men will disappear. You'll never see it again because the organizers of the fight will be sued into oblivion, likely by the same woke dumbasses pushing for women to be allowed to fight men in the first place. At that point, though, once they get sued, no other promoter will be willing to take the risk. But let me know what you think about this MMA fight between a woman and a man in Poland. Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys tomorrow.